Wednesday edition of Pro Football Talk Live. On Tuesdays, Chris Sims unbuttoned. Chris Sims, who else? Unveiled his top 5 quarterback prospects. If you're watching on NBCSN, you see the graphic. Joe Burrow, number 1. Justin Herbert, number 2. Jordan Love, number 3. Tua Tagovailoa, number 4. What gives Sims? Jacob Eason, number 5. Surely the biggest reaction is going to come from the placement of Tua Tagovailoa at number 4. Some people still have him penciled in as the 5th overall pick in the draft by the Miami Dolphins. Why did you put him at number 4?
Well, listen, I like Tua. There's a lot to like. I mean, yes, accurate thrower, good athlete, can move in the pocket, certainly, makes good decisions, and not a guy that's going to throw in a lot of interceptions, sees the field well. Okay, all that. But I'm not necessarily sure sitting here going, ooh, the way he plays, the style of play is going to translate to the NFL. He's fast, but he's not real fast. And, if anybody watched the pod just in the segment before, his size is an issue to me. Yes, his injury history is an issue to me. But size, ability to throw in the pocket with people around him, make big throws down the middle of the field with linemen in his face, you're not going to see that. And it's a good arm, but it's not a great arm. And, again, I think you got to be careful when you watch Alabama. It's a very good offense schematically, and it's got some of the best talent you're going to find. I mean, Mike, all 3 of their receivers that they throw to, like I said, 2 are going in the top 25 this year. The other kid, number 6, is going to be a top 20 pick next year. There's a lot of talent around him. But the size and injury history certainly is going to make me dock him a little bit, let alone, Mike, how many plays I watch on film where the play is over and I go, wait, did he get hurt? Is he hurt? I mean, there's just so many. It's almost like he has a hard time getting out of danger's way. That would concern me. To pick him at number 5, man, that would be risky. I'm just not so sure. I'm not sure. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that as a GM.
And when he suffered the hip injury during the season, I canvassed between 10 and 15 general managers to get an idea of how this would affect him. And the comments from one still resonate with me today. The idea that he had 3 lower body injuries at the college level. It is a bigger, faster, more intense game of football when you come to the NFL level. You throw in the fact that he does have these plays where he didn't get out of harm's way. He got hit. Look, it's a basic matter of physics. And what else? Physics and physics. I'll just stick with physics. No, the more you get hit, the more you're going to get hurt. That's how it works. So you have to find a way to minimize those hits. And if you're going to have those hits every game where people stop and say, is he going to get up? At the NFL level, you're not going to get up more frequently than you don't get up at the college level. It's that simple. You got to incorporate into the game getting out of bounds, hitting the deck, understanding how your body operates in space with the other bodies around you. And it's funny. And of all people, Chris, the Checkdown account, which is operated by the NFL, had a highlight clip that it put out last night of Peyton Manning doing bootlegs. And the one thing Peyton Manning knew better than anything else is where his body was in relation to everyone else's. And he knew instinctively when to get down, when to slide, when to fall, when to avoid taking the hit. Because the more hits you take, the more likely you're going to be hurt and not be able to play for your team. You're hitting on something very important here, no pun intended. Tua takes those hits, and he's fearless about it, but the problem is at the next level, he's going to be not playing more often than he is playing if he keeps taking those hits.
No doubt. And again, this isn't about what you watch on film right now. I mean, if you just evaluate the film for what it is, right? I mean, yeah, Tua's the second best watch there is because the offense is wide open and he's got talent around him and he throws from a perfect pocket all the time. But the reality is NFL is not like that. It's not. Maybe 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the league get that type of protection. He plays very small. And because of that, and the fact that, you just mentioned he gets swallowed up in the pocket at times, it leads him to dance around, try to make plays, escape the pocket, all of those things. He got away with that a little bit in college, certainly, and he was capable of making some plays. But we saw, he got swallowed up and hit a whole bunch of times with the law of physics like you're talking about. And I just don't think that style of play is going to translate to the NFL. it's a little bit like and I want to say this. I like Tua. He's a lefty. I'm rooting for him. Again, this is just my honest evaluation. But I'll go back to somebody like Johnny Manziel. Oh, yeah, he was scrambling all around in college football. Yeah, that was great. He got to the NFL, and every defensive end ran 4.4 or 4.5. And all of a sudden you realize, damn, I can't do the stuff I did in college. I'm going to have to sit here in the pocket and make big throws with people around me. I mean, the people we see run in the NFL, it's Lamar Jackson. He runs 4.2 or 4.3. I mean, that's the type of speed you have to make it as a runner in the league. And those are the things that concern me about Tua. There's a lot to like. I get it. But I think there's a huge risk factor here. And I think compared to Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, and Burrow, I think his game projects the least to the NFL as compared to those three ahead of him that I got.
Let's talk about Justin Herbert. We interviewed him at the scouting combine before you. How do I put it delicately?
Wait, one thing, real quick, just before you hit that. Because, too, also, look at Kyler Murray. This is the comment I wanted to make. Sorry, Mike. Kyler Murray, right? You look at him and go, well, he's another guy, 4.3. We didn't see a ton of highlights of him just scrambling all over the field last year. Why? Because it's a different animal in the NFL. And Kyler Murray would blow Tua away in a 40-yard dash. So if he's not going to be able to run around and do some of the magic we saw in college, I certainly don't think a guy who I'm going to say Tua runs a mid to high 4.6 is going to be running around making plays off schedule like that either. Sorry.
Okay, back to Herbert. That's fine. We talked to him at the scouting combine. You've got him at number 2. Look, I don't know that I would put him at number 2 simply because he idolized Joey Harrington growing up. To me, that's the biggest red flag that I've seen in a top quarterback in years. Sorry, Justin. I'm just giving you my honest evaluation here. You have a more meaningful evaluation than whether or not he was a Joey Harrington fan. What caused you to put him at number 2?
But, Mike, your point there is still something that's scaring NFL teams about Justin Herbert, and I get it. The fact that he hasn't been outside of Eugene, Oregon, how much does he love football? Because he had a chance to come out last year and be, probably a top 10 pick, but he stayed in school. So those are the things that concern people. But the talent is off the level. It's what do I want to say? The talent is off the charts. Thank you for Justin Herbert. I mean, first off, he has the best arm in the draft. He can make game-changing, wow-type throws where you just go, whoa. Like, there's just not too many people on the planet that could have fit that ball in there. And that is going to lead to great design. Like, don't tell me, arm strength is not important. I'm so sick of hearing about that. Patrick Mahomes is who he is because his arm is really strong. Aaron Rodgers is who he is. I'm not saying it's the only thing, but it's a great tool for all the great quarterbacks we've ever seen. Most of them had pretty damn strong arms. And Herbert is a different level of thrower. He's a big person. He could throw with people around him and make those 20-yard out route throws with people holding on to his shoulders, and he can do it with ease. He's a phenomenal athlete. I would say when he gets going and opens up, he's the fastest quarterback of everybody this top 5. And then added to that, when you look at his struggles, the film's not always clean, Mike. But a lot of the things I didn't like about the negative plays on film were related to the offense, not Justin Herbert. And that's where I think all evaluators, we got to be careful sometimes. We take the offense and everything that goes on and give the credit or the blame to the quarterback. And I just want to say, listen, if you put Jordan Love or Justin Herbert at Alabama, and if you don't think they would have had unbelievable stats and the game would have looked a whole lot easier, then you're just crazy. Tua had the advantage of being coached by the greatest college coach ever with great talent around him. So, yeah, his game is a little cleaner. Maybe he's ready to go for some of the nuances of the quarterback position. But top-end, highest ceiling type talent, yeah, I think Justin Herbert probably has the highest ceiling out of anybody in this draft at the quarterback position.
And that's what concerns me about Tua. Back to him for a second. When you have so much great talent around you, maybe you get a skewed representation of how good of a quarterback a guy is because
Definitely.
The linemen are winning on every play with their blocks. You're getting a great running game because your running back is blasting through the defense. Your receivers are getting open. It's not the same adversity across the board which makes it easier for the quarterback. And now at the next level, everything gets tougher. It's tougher for the quarterback. It's tougher for all of his teammates. The windows are narrower. The opportunities are fewer and farther between. That's going to be one of the challenges. And look, as it relates to Justin Herbert and that Oregon focus, I think there's a positive there as well, because wherever he goes, football is going to be all he has. That's going to be your refuge. That becomes your bubble. And that's all you do. You throw yourself into it. You're at work. You go early. You stay late. You're used to being in a restricted range of movement. So it's from the house to the facility, back to the house to the facility, and it's work, and it's work, and it's work. And I think maybe that'll help him in a weird sort of way. As long as he has the emotional support in place, maybe his parents, travel to wherever it is and get an apartment or a house or live with him wherever he is to help him make that transition. But I think there are ways to do it. And there have been enough guys who have had to do it. There's enough case studies out there that I think if whoever takes him, if it's the Dolphins at 5 or someone else, I think if they're smart, they'll find a way to make this transition without it causing him to collapse.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's a really good point by you, Mike. It is. And you're right. If again, this is where meeting the player is going to come in handy. And I don't know if that's going to happen here this year, but that's the thing you want to get a feel for, right? Because then you can go, okay, this kid's a good kid. He loves football. Yeah, so what? He hasn't been around the world or the country. He doesn't care. He just wants to play football, go home, hang out, and that's it. And there's some positives in that. And Mike, back to your Tua point with the team around him. Listen, that's why my evaluation on Daniel Jones was wrong last year. If I had to self-scout thyself like I do, and 2 quarterbacks jump out to me, Daniel Jones and Dak Prescott. And I think I looked at those 2 quarterbacks when I evaluated them and put too much of the blame on them for team and offensive issues. Dak Prescott, yeah, he walked on the field in the SEC and he was on the lesser team almost every game he was in. And then we didn't see any receivers from Mississippi State coming out in the NFL draft, So therefore, there was moments in games where it didn't look real pretty. And I put that blame on Dak Prescott, where I should have said, well, there was nobody open. The protection wasn't that great. He was clearly on the far worst team on the field that day. And that's where we all got to be careful, because, yes, it's going to look really pretty from Tua sometimes. But again, to my point originally, you put Herbert or Jordan Love there at Alabama, their film would look a whole lot pretty. You put Tua at Utah State and make him play in that offense, he would throw more interceptions. He would have more mistakes in his game. There's less talent, there's less creativity in the scheme, and I think that's part of the evaluation process with these quarterbacks.
We'll have plenty of time over the next 29 days as the draft approaches to talk about the other quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Jacob Eason. Let me ask you this, though, before we take a break. What's the gap between Eason at 5 and your next guy at number 6? So I think there's a significant gap between the top 4 and then that number 5 guy. And then Eason, it's not a huge gap. The next group of guys with the Jalen Hurts and, from Georgia, there's the kid from Florida Atlantic I like. So I would say there's a little bit of a gap, yes, because Eason has a chance, in my opinion, to be a starting quarterback maybe in the NFL at some point. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I love him. The guys I look after him, I want to sit there and go, other than Jalen Hurts, who has potential and a work in progress, the rest of them I go, I think these are career backup guys who could be, top-tier backups, but never franchise starting quarterbacks.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.